Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today is Q&A Tuesday. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Every week I take some of the questions that have been asked by viewer comments through emails or from Instagram, and I roll it all into one episode to bring you guys the #1 question and answer show about medical coding, airing on Tuesday. So, if you would like to have your question submitted for a future episode, comment below or send me an email. I will include my email address in the description box below. So, thank you to everybody who submitted their question. Let us begin. First question. Hello, Blue. Great video. Do you recommend taking the practicode to remove the A or just start looking for a job? Thanks. So what the viewer is talking about here is, in the beginning, if you are sitting for the American Academy of Professional Coders Certified Professional Coder credential, in the beginning it will have a -A at the end, which means apprentice. This just means that you are brand new. And AAPC does have a time requirement. In order to get that A removed, you have to be working for 2 years. And practicode is a educational product that they offer. And what you do is you code cases. So it's meant to do a couple of things. One, to make you more confident in your coding because you're having to go through all of these exercises. And then the other thing is to fulfill a 1-year requirement of the 2-year requirement it takes to get the A removed from the CPC. So what the viewer is asking is, should they go through practicode and then look for a job? Here's the thing. I have known many people who have gotten jobs without having to go through practicode. It is not mandatory. It is just something that you can do if you want to get the A removed faster. However, if you get a job with the A, I mean, what is the sense of trying to rush? You already got the job, right? So to me, it's entirely up to you. I think it's a great educational product. I've never gone through it myself, but to be able to go through the case amounts that they have, I think is great because it just gives the coder more practice. And a lot of times if coders are not looking for those free or very low cost exercises that they can do on their own, you know, that's just an alternative. So there are plenty of free websites out there. I do recommend justcoding.com. This is not an ad for them, but Just Coding does have a free subscription and a paid subscription. On their free subscription, which is of course the one that I recommend to all of you, they do have exercises that you can do. And they're free. They're free quizzes. So if you're interested in that, I will leave the link for Just Coding in the description box below. And it's just one of those things that you can do to practice. You can also look for coding workbooks so that you can build your skills. If it's just so that you can remove the A faster, it's entirely a personal preference on your part. But if you already have the job, your time in starts when you're coding. So to me, it's just like, you know, it's up to you. But either way. Next question. Currently looking into medical billing and coding classes. Do you find that physicians are sometimes not specific in documentation? If so, is there a way for you to contact them, dig farther into the situation? How is that handled? Great video, by the way. It has me excited. All right, well, I'm so glad. Yes, there are times when you do have to query your provider. That is what is called the digging in and contacting them. Providers are used to queries. However, you have to phrase the query in a way that is, one, correct, because you cannot be leading the provider in your query. It has to be written appropriately because these do become a part of all of the documentation, right? And the record. So if something has to be clarified, that information is going to be in the record. So just to make sure that you are appropriately wording the question and asking them the correct way for clarification, or if something is not clear in their documentation and they need to be more specific. Sometimes they do work with clinical documentation improvement folks who will work with them, and it just depends on how queries are handled in your facility. For some, it is channeled through a liaison, like a coder liaison with the providers. Sometimes the coder is not always the one that is doing it. For me, I personally, I was gonna say approve. I personally would like to always be the one to take care of that, which I am. I insist on taking care of my providers. I do not channel my queries to anybody else. It comes directly from me to them because I know how to appropriately write a query. But again, different facilities are going to have different requirements on that. So you have to make sure that you follow the rules at your facility. But that is how you do that. And knowing how to phrase the question also requires you to understand what you're reading. Because I've seen some coders who will try to query and there's no need for a query, right? Because they don't understand. That is something that you can personally go talk to the provider about if you have already started to build that relationship. It is so important, and I talk about this a lot. Building relationships with providers is key to your growth as a medical coder and to the provider to make sure that all of the services that they're providing are accurately reflected in the documentation. There's a lot of things that can be missed because they're thinking that, oh no, I'm not going to get paid for this. When in actuality, yes, they can. So we have to make sure that those lines of communication are very open, and that is one of the first steps that you have to do when you are a medical coder. When you start, if no one else is doing the education, if it is up to the coder to do all the querying and the education with the providers, make sure that you identify yourself, introduce yourself before you start sending queries, or you're on a bad list emails. You want to make sure that they know who you are first. And like I said, that's granted that there's no other thing in place that you have to go through first. Because for some facilities, they do have the one person, and for others, it's just like it's on the coder. And that is the way that it should be. It should be on the coder. But not all coders have the finesse that they need to have, because sometimes they'll get into a situation, they'll find themselves in a situation where maybe they queried and they didn't need to be queried, and now you've upset the provider. So there's a difference there, and you have to make sure before you send anything that you double and triple check everything that you're going to send them, because they have very little time, and you want to make sure that you look as positive as possible. Positive as possible, meaning that you are showing yourself in a very good light that is going to build that trust. Many, many times I have had encounters with brand new providers, and they kind of look at me funny when I introduce myself right away, because I pounce. And I have to, because I want to make sure that they know, hey, I'm here. I'm your coder. And if you have any questions, you come to me, and we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about this stuff. We're going to talk about our rules here before you get started, so that you can start developing those good habits, you know, and they appreciate it. But a lot of them say, you know, I have never known my coder. The coders were people who were away from us, or they were people who were in an office who never talked to us. We never knew who our coders were. So to me, I always want to try to get out of that, and I want them to know that your coders are available if you ask for them. And if not, they should be introducing themselves to you. If not, then you got to go and find them. And, you know, it's important because, again, it's all about the communication. So, yes, that is what happens when you have those. But when you do a lot of education with your providers, and if there's a really good CDI, clinical documentation improvement practitioner on site, it does help, because it lessens the amount of queries, because the providers will know all the details they need to document. So that is one of those things. There's the amount of queries that I have to do is very little now, and it comes in waves. Sometimes they forget things or whatever, or I have to clarify or whatever because something new came out. But it's very rare now. It's not a lot, and that's a good thing. You know, when you are able to get to that point where you're not having to query all the time, that is a good thing. All right, next question. Hi, Blue. I am not fluent in English and I am 54 years old. Can I be a successful medical coder? I wonder how English is important to work as a medical coder. Knowing English, being proficient in English is everything. For people who are English is their second language, it depends on how fluent you are. I will say that because there's lots of people who English is not their first language and they're still trying to learn medical coding, or they've been a medical coder for years. It really does depend. The better you are with English, the better and easier it's going to be for you to understand medical documentation. Medical documentation is not like reading your standard nonfiction book or your fiction books. This stuff is very technical. So it is very imperative, especially if English is not your first language, that you are continuing to better your English so that you can better understand the documentation. I have seen many times where people who English is not their first language, they will mix up words like cardiac lead and lead poisoning. These are two different things, but they're still using the same word, lead or lead. So it's spelled the same, L-E-A-D. And this was confusing for people who English is not their first language. So the problem with this is you can select the wrong diagnosis code. When you select the wrong diagnosis code, there's a good chance you're probably selecting the wrong procedure code as well. So that's something that you have to know before you're getting into this, that medical documentation is very technical and that it's going to take some time. But if you are very good with reading English and writing English, then you should be fine. Speaking it is something that you have to work on. I know there's a lot of people who have really heavy accents. The thing that I can recommend for that is watching a DVD that has the subtitles in your language, in your native language, while listening, putting the audio in English. So that way you can start to learn how to speak it and you can speak it back, but you would know what they're trying to say because it's you can read the subtitles in your own language. So taking the time to practice and getting the sound to come out clear is what you want to do, because if you want to be in this, you're going to have to be able to communicate with providers. When you're communicating with providers, they need to understand what you're saying, because some providers are very impatient, and that's just putting it bluntly. They get impatient, they don't have time, and they don't want somebody telling them that they did something wrong, or who are you to educate me? You know, I'm a doctor, I've been to school for all these years, which that has been an argument. Like, seriously? Like, I have all this education and you have a certification? Yeah. And we're supposed to be partners. So let's get off of that and let's work together, because we're here to be a team together. You know, at least that's just what I say. But it works out very well. You just have to be very respectful about it as well, too. So just gonna put that out there. But yes, English is everything. Always work on getting better with your English, because if native English speakers have a hard enough time reading medical documentation, I can imagine what people who English is not your first language go through. But continue to study and it will get easier. Next question. Hello, I am wondering about an online school called PenFaster Career School, Medical Billing and Coding Program. Do you know if this program will prepare me for the CPC exam? On the PenFaster website, it says that it does, but I'm not sure if it will fully prepare me for the CPC exam. So when they're telling you that they'll prepare you for the CPC exam, they have their course, and their course is already done up, right? And of course it meets the requirements for training for the CPC exam. So if it's saying that it can prepare you, then that's what it can do. It is also up to you to make sure that you are doing your own studying in addition to what you learn in school. This is important because if you are not doing all the other extra steps, you know, they're going to tell you what they need to tell you. But as far as you getting more confidence and knowing the steps and and really understanding the rules that is on you to do. So if Penn Foster says that they do it, that's what they do. I have heard good things from people about Penn Foster. I cannot endorse them myself because of the simple fact that I have not been through their program. So I can't say yay or nay. And I'm not even certified with the APC. So I don't have a CPC. I'm certified with AHIMA. So again, it is entirely up to you. I will say this, that a lot of the online programs you're going to be learning on your own. They may have an instructor. I don't know how hands-on the instructor might be, but that is something that you have to ask. Make sure that you ask lots of questions. I do have videos out that give a list of questions that you should ask for these online schools or these trade schools, because it's important for you guys to understand and fully know before you sign on that dotted line and spend thousands of dollars, because that little comma is going to be in there, right? Before you sign on to spend thousands of dollars, and some of this is upwards of $20,000. I'm not saying that's what Penn Foster is charging, but some of these other online schools, yeah, 20, 25,000, some are 30,000 I've seen. One was 40,000. So that's a lot of money, guys. To me, you got to be really smart. And I've shown you guys how to learn this for free. I've also shown you guys where to look for programs that can help you to pay for these programs. I went through the WIOA program because I was a displaced worker. Because I was laid off, I went through the unemployment office or the workforce office, and that was how I got signed up with that program. And here I am now in a career that I love. So that is just something that is always an option, because sometimes people will pick these online programs that are really expensive because they say, well, Blue, I need financial aid. Again, there's other programs out there that can help you. You just have to know where to look. And again, going through my videos where I'm talking about this stuff may help you as well. So next question. Is medical terminology, anatomy, and pathophysiology the same material that you would learn in a community college, or is it more informative taking the courses on AAPC? You see, guys, I get a lot of AAPC questions. I don't know, because every college program is going to be different. I have not seen what the program is for medical terminology, pathophysiology for AAPC. That is something that you'd have to, I guess, go through. But to me, if you're going to go through college, it's going to be much more expensive. I know that AAPC's course is meant as a supplement before you start the coding program. If you have no experience, they do recommend that you take that beforehand, and it is a separate product on their website. So, you know, it's entirely up to you. It is beneficial to know the broad strokes and the basic foundation and understanding of medical terminology and anatomy and pathophysiology. It's very important for you guys to understand that stuff first before you get into coding, because that's the only way it's going to be able to make sense. So whether you decide to go through college, study on your own the medical terminology, anatomy, and pathophysiology, or going through AAPC's program, it's entirely up to you. But I don't know either way, because I haven't been through the program to tell you guys how comprehensive it is. Okay, but I do know that there's a lot of people that go through it. So if that helps, sorry. Next question. Can you still get a supervisor role with just certifications and not an associate or bachelor's degree? I am aware you're most likely going to have to obtain a lot of experience, but I want to know if it is still possible. Actually, yes. So I have seen CPCs that are in the supervisory roles. Okay, they're like usually supervisors over coders, or maybe sometimes they're a lead coder. I've also seen the CCSs be the supervisors as well. So the CCS is a Certified Coding Specialist, and that is a credential offered with the American Health Information Management Association. A lot of times those folks are in those supervisory roles because they know both inpatient and outpatient coding, which makes them very versatile. And that is one of the options that SCCS has. Not that if you have that, you have to be a supervisor. I didn't say that. But it is one of the things that, you know, sometimes they can offer, because you know, you're in a position that is where you're very versatile. So they need somebody in those positions like that. CPCs are also in those supervisory positions as well. So that is something to know. And it's usually like a lower level supervisor, not in the executive suite, but just the ones that are really hands-on with the coders. That's, you know, is possible with just a certification to have that, to be able to do that. So, and not needing a degree. Next question. I start the medical coding program in 2 weeks, and this is very inspirational. I am a young mom, and I have a 1-year-old son. With just a certification, can I land a remote job in this field? So because of the pandemic, it has changed the landscape of brand new medical coders and where and how they get hired. So if you apply at a place that you have to go right now, chances are that they will send you home. Sometimes they will keep you at the facility for a couple of weeks, train you, get you all geared up and ready to go on the systems at their facility, and then send you home. And then sometimes they will send you home and train you virtually. So it depends on wherever you're applying. But normally, on a normal basis, when we are not in a pandemic, nope. Not right away. You need 3 to 5 years worth of experience before you can start coding from home remotely, okay? But again, because we are in this pandemic, it's changed things a little bit, because they still do need medical coders right now. So their employers are making concessions for brand new people who have no experience. So that is my answer on that one. I think I have time for one more. I have been out of the career field for 4 years, but I am currently getting my associate's degree in health information management. Because I'm in school and I'm staying up to date with the coding updates, can I use my past experience on applications? Absolutely. You can use any transferable skills that you have. Get it on your resume. You want that. You want to be able to paint yourself in the highest and the best way that you can, because it's important that when you are applying for these jobs, that they know what your skill set is. They're not going to know you from anybody, right? So you have to be able to tell them, I know anatomy, pathophysiology, and medical terminology. I worked as a nurse, or I worked as an MA, or, you know, I did something else. And they need to know all your transferable skills. If you worked with any electronic health record in the past, you need to put it on there as your skills. You know, I do offer resume reviews, so if you're interested in that, I leave my rates in the description box below. It's professional coaching. It is $25 for an hour and $15 for the second hour of the same session. You know, so it's something that I do. I review people's resumes, and sometimes it's having somebody that's, you know, the second set of eyes to be able to look and see what it is how you're displaying your talents that may be helpful for you. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up because I don't want it to cut me off. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope this was helpful for you guys. And if you have your question, remember, leave it down in the description box. The comments. I always say description box. Leave it in the comments below, and I will tack it on to a future episode. So if you are a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider, or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all next time. Bye.